No word yet from the Department of Justice on Huma Abedin's mishandling of classified material. The top Hillary Clinton aide forwarded State Department emails and passwords to her personal Yahoo email account before every Yahoo account was hacked back in 2013. Several documents marked classified at the time, not upclassified, but classified at the time, also found on a laptop belonging to Abedin's husband at the time, Anthony Weiner. Our next guest has written extensively on the Clinton email scandal, reporting extraordinary developments throughout. Daily Caller investigative reporter Luke Rosiak. Great to have you with us, Luke. Let's start with why, based on what we know now, and largely because of what the House Intel Committee has been able to produce, why is there not an immediate reopening of the case against Hillary Clinton and her top aides?
That's a good question. I mean, I think to reopen it, you have to acknowledge the mistakes that they made in the past. And I think that's going to be deeply troubling for the FBI because they haven't explained why they didn't pursue these things in the first place. And I think it would be pretty hard to rationalize that. I mean, we learned today that Hillary Clinton's privately hired IT guy deleted emails after they were subpoenaed by Congress, and then he lied to the FBI about it, and they gave him immunity. So in some cases, those immunity deals are presumably still binding.
Yeah, you mean for precisely the same thing, that is lying to the FBI, that General Flynn acknowledged he had done.
That's right. And, you know, when we see how carelessly Clinton and her whole crew treated cybersecurity, I can't help but think about the breach of the DNC and how the sky was falling, and that was the worst thing that ever occurred. And then you think about it. You've got Huma Abedin sending classified information about Syria and about Russia to Yahoo, which was hacked by hostile foreign powers. A Russian spy was indicted, and they don't care. You have Pakistani national Imran Awan hacking Congress, Democrats not seeking charges. They've been careless with these documents.
I think what you're saying, if I may, look, just to put a bit of a point on it, you're saying they didn't care. You're talking about the Obama administration didn't care. You're saying that the FBI didn't care because they didn't insist on a forensic examination of the servers of the DNC. They didn't even have an ability to identify Russia as the hackers because a third party was what they relied upon for that determination.
Right. They didn't let the FBI, which was the Obama Department of Justice, see the DNC server. So, but yet the DNC hack was the worst thing that ever happened. And meanwhile, the running state, like hacking is a non-issue. They're basically got a neon sign welcoming hackers by using Yahoo, which is the most laughably insecure email provider. So they're putting political parties' data integrity over the United States government. At the end of the day, it's not that bad for. It shouldn't be considered worse for Americans to be able to read the emails of a political party, the DNC, compared to letting Russia or foreign actors see United States government documents. So to me, the treatment of government documents in an insecure manner is worse than political parties' emails being exposed.
The Hill's John Solomon, as he has throughout his career, he's reporting for the first time. Congressional investigators now say they've secured sufficient evidence to definitively say that the FBI believed there was evidence that laws were broken, and in point of fact, overwhelmingly, simply by the amount of evidence that they cataloged, that there was clearly every reason to believe a crime was committed. Solomon doing that reporting, and yet again, we're at the point that some want to be in utter denial about the sorry, corrupt state of the top of the FBI. The leadership of the FBI, it seems to me, Luke, has to be completely cleaned out. This is now a matter of national security. It's extraordinarily troubling that no one is acting to do so.
Well said.
Luke?
Well said, Lou.
That's where you're going to leave it? You got it. Partner, it may be well said, it'd be better done.
You know, this whole day seems to be like this internal war back and forth, the Bannonites, the Trumpites, whether it's the establishment, which is kind of hard to say because neither of those guys are establishment going against the renegade groups. Anyway, I can't make it out, but Newt Gingrich has a long history of this sort of thing and has seen many a president address it. He's the former Speaker of the House, you know, multiple best-selling author, his wife, a fancy schmancy ambassador at the Vatican. He joins us from the White House right now. Newt, good to see you.
Well, it's good to see him. I'm not sure Calista would quite buy fancy schmancy, but she's honored to be serving as ambassador to the Vatican.
That's awesome. I mean, that's quite the honor. Let me ask you, though, how is this all going down, this Bannon back and forth at the White House, the president and his remarks? It was not just a tweet. It was a very clear, delineated statement. What's going on?
Well, look, I think, Neil, first of all, Bannon has an exaggerated sense of self-importance, and the news media, of course, builds it up because it's exactly, in the age of the Kardashians, the kind of nonsense that they love to fill time and space with. So they can run around and think about that as opposed to the largest tax cut in history or the most deregulation in history or the best economic growth in more than 10 years.
But didn't Bannon feed this beat, Snoop, by saying this outlandish stuff?
Well, look, I think that Bannon thinks he's extraordinarily important, but the fact is Trump had won the nomination without Bannon. Trump would have won the presidency without Bannon, and Trump has governed without Bannon. So I think there's an exaggerated sense of who Steve is, and I think, remember, this is a guy who got fired. So you have a guy who's been fired, who's trying to claim a bunch of things, which he apparently did not claim at the time. And I think you have to just say it's noise. It has nothing to do with the things that matter to America, and the things that matter to the American people have no relationship to the kind of noise that we're going to spend all day today with. And luckily for the president, he's really come to distinguish between the things that matter and the things that don't. The meeting this weekend at Camp David matters with the Republican leadership. Steve Bannon saying a bunch of junk doesn't really matter in the long run. It will disappear.
What are you doing there?
I'm hanging out with friends, talking to some folks, and
right.
You know, trying to be helpful.
That's power. That's power. You know, Newt, the one thing I wanted to ask about ahead of this meeting is this concern that there might be a government shutdown. Do you think there will be? And with the January 19th, deadline looming here, that on the eve of the one-year anniversary of the president's inauguration, is he worried about that?
Well, I think he's only worried in the sense that he doesn't think it's good for the country to have a government shutdown. And the way it's currently structured, you'd be shutting down national security, you'd be shutting down law enforcement. I mean, a lot of dangerous things would happen. So my guess is they'll find a formula, they'll find a way to avoid it. And certainly that's the intent, I think, of Speaker Ryan and Majority Leader McConnell and the president, is to find a way to keep moving forward.
This back and forth on the tax cut thing, too, and Democrats are bemoaning it, but we see more companies sharing the wealth with their workers. I mean, today it was Southwest and American Airlines, and joined about 8 or 9 other companies more likely to come who will share some of that bounty. That goes beyond just the individual tax relief that folks are going to see in their paychecks, I guess, next month. Play out the effect of all of this and the impact this is going to have.
Oh, I think historians will look back and say that the greatest mistake the Democratic Party made in the first 2 years of the Trump administration was voting unanimously against the tax cuts. This means that in places like Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, North Dakota, where you have Democrats, in West Virginia, they voted against cutting taxes. They voted against people back home. They voted against creating more jobs. And as it becomes clear that in a lot of these states, 95 or 100% of the families are going to get a tax cut, they're going to have to ask themselves, do I really want a senator who wants my money to go to Washington instead of to me? Do I want a senator who voted against creating more jobs? This bill is going to be the most important single event of the first 2 years of the Trump administration. I think it's going to lead the Republicans to pick up 4 to 6 Senate seats and to keep control of the House. And people will look back and say this was the biggest single mistake the Democrats could have made.
You think Republicans are going to pick up Senate seats?
Absolutely. They'll pick up 4 to 6 Senate seats.
House. So there's this
they'll keep the House plus or minus 10.
That says they're going to lose a lot of seats. You don't see that happening.
Look, I watch everybody who was wrong in 2015 and 2016 and 2017. When they collectively come out and say something, I take the opposite position. It's worked every single year now. All the experts who said that Republicans are in deep trouble, you watch as this tax bill comes in, as people realize how big it is, as jobs get created, as economic growth accelerates. You're going to have the terrible economic years of Obama and the remarkable growth years of Donald J. Trump. I think the average American is going to vote for more jobs, more take-home pay, and a bigger economy. And therefore, I think we're going to win this fall.
I don't know how much you dabble in the markets, but a lot of market folks who love the president are still saying they're getting concerned about a bull market that's getting a little long in the tooth. It's touching on 25,000. It would be the 7,000-point leap since the president was elected, the 6th of his presidency. Do you?
Do I what?
Get nervous.
Do I worry about? I don't know. I mean, my honest answer is,
I think you know. I think you know exactly.
Look, we have not had a president like Donald J. Trump since Andrew Jackson in the 1820s. We have never seen the level of deregulation we're seeing. Now, if you're a person who believes that the regulatory state was creating friction, undermining economic growth, weakening the economy, then the scale of deregulation alone is probably worth a half point of real economic growth to a full point. Then you look at the tax cuts, you look at expensing, for example, and the impact, which you know very well, Neil, is going to be huge in terms of an investment boom. And you have to say to yourself, when you look at consumer confidence, we could be in the early stages of one of the most, this could be like 1921, 22. We could be in the early stages of one of the most remarkable bull markets in American history. I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, first of all, I'm a historian. I'm not a business advisor.
That's a very good answer. Newt Gingrich, thank you very, very much.
Great
very
to
good
be with
seeing
you.